There's this problem. It's hiding in pretty much every single software project out there, but you almost never see it. It's called technical debt, and today we're going to put a real number on it. We're going to follow the story of one team who found a six-figure problem just silently draining their budget year after year.
So, could 30 minutes of work really save your company 100 grand a year? I know, it totally sounds like clickbait, right? But what if I told you this isn't some made-up scenario? This is a real story. A team spent just half an hour and found a way to save $100,000, not just once, but every single year. Let's dig into how they pulled it off.
All right, so let's meet our hero, Marcus. He's the new Salesforce architect, and he's just walked into a bit of a nightmare. He inherited this 8-year-old system, right? And it's had tons of different architects, dozens of developers, and guess what? Almost zero documentation. Talk about an impossible task. And of course, the pressure was on from the get-go. His new boss comes to him and says, I need to know what we're dealing with now, not in a few months. They had a huge migration to plan, and they couldn't wait. So Marcus was basically asked to map out this entire technical jungle, and all he had was a notepad. No pressure, right? So Marcus, being the dedicated guy he is, just dives in headfirst. He spends 2 full weeks, that's 80 hours, manually clicking through everything, trying to read the code, just desperately trying to piece it all together. And after all that effort, all he had was a bunch of half-baked notes and way more questions than answers. The jungle was definitely winning. But just when he was about to give up, something changed. Marcus got introduced to an automated health check. And this, right here, was the turning point. In about the time it takes to watch an episode of your favorite sitcom, everything he thought he knew, or didn't know, about this system was about to get turned completely upside down. So the analysis kicks off, and the numbers that come back are just whoa. First up, custom objects. Think of them like custom spreadsheets for data. The scan finds 347 of them. But here's the crazy part. More than 100 of them were total ghosts. They had no data, no connections to anything else, just digital dust bunnies. Okay, next up, it scans the Apex classes. That's all the custom code that actually makes the system do its thing. And boom, 582 of them. But again, the big number isn't the real story. It's that 137 of those classes were completely orphaned. I mean, code that wasn't being used by anything at all, just lying around waiting to confuse the next board developer who found it. And it just kept on coming. This system turns up 193 automated processes, or flows. And you guessed it, the same pattern emerges. 63 of them were inactive, sure, but they also had zero connections to anything. They were just old experiments, projects that got canceled, basically forgotten tools left rusting in the corner of the workshop. So, okay, Marcus finally has a complete list of everything in this digital jungle. That's a huge win. But it leads to the really important question. What is all this junk, all this hidden complexity, actually costing the business in real dollars? It was time to add it all up.
Now, before we get to the price tag, let's make sure we're all on the same page about what technical debt even is. It's basically the cost you pay down the line for taking a shortcut right now. The best analogy? It's like having a super messy garage. Every single time you need to find a wrench, you waste 10 minutes digging through junk. That wasted time, that's the interest you're paying on your messy garage debt. It's the exact same thing with code.
And this chart here just shows you exactly where that cost is coming from. See, it's not just one thing. It's a whole bunch of stuff combined. You've got risks from fragile code that could break at any moment, old automations slowing things down, and all that time developers waste trying to figure out orphaned code. Every single slice of this pie is like a silent tax on your team's productivity. So let's put some hard numbers to it. That orphaned code we talked about? Turns out it's costing them 15 grand a year just in slower work and confused developers. And those governor limit risks, the really fragile code, that's a $30,000 a year gamble that something will blow up in production. You add it all up, the wasted time, the emergency fixes, the slowdowns, and you land at a mind-boggling $100,000 every single year. And that's money being spent on absolutely nothing of value.
Okay, so you've just discovered a $100,000 hole in your budget. What do you do? Well, this team didn't panic. They got organized. They put together a super clear, actionable plan to tackle all this debt and get things back on track in just 30 days.
And their plan was both simple and smart. Week 1, they went for the easy wins. Just delete all that orphan code. Get it out of there. Week 2, they moved on to archiving the unused objects. That took a little more planning.
Week 3 was the real heavy lifting, fixing that high-risk, fragile code. And to wrap it all up, Week 4 was all about cleaning up and consolidating all the messy, overlapping automation. A focused one-month sprint to a much healthier system.
So when we say refactoring high-risk code, what does that actually look like? Well, this is a perfect example. On the left, you've got a ticking time bomb. The code is pulling data from the database inside a loop. Now that's fine for one record, but if you try to process, say, 200 records at once, the whole system just crashes. Now look at the right, the safe fix. All they did was move that one line of code outside the loop. Now it runs just once and can handle thousands of records, no problem. A tiny change that stops a total disaster.
So after that 30-day sprint, the results started to show. And this is where the whole story changes. It stopped being about just cleaning up a mess and started being about making a really smart investment in the future of their entire system. And these weren't just vague feelings. They were real, measurable results. Getting new code out the door was now 12% faster. The whole code base was 18% smaller. And maybe best of all, those random production emergencies caused by that fragile code, they went down to 0. The system wasn't just cleaner, it was faster, leaner, and way more reliable.
All right, so what did this whole 30-day cleanup actually cost them? When they calculated all the developer time and effort, the total investment came to $11,700. Okay, just under 12 grand. Remember that number.
Now, let's bring back the problem they were solving, that hidden $100,000 annual bleed. All that wasted time, risk, and inefficiency. That is the cost that they just completely wiped out.
Just let that sink in for a second. They invested less than $12,000 to eliminate a $100,000 annual cost. That works out to a 755% return on their investment in the first year alone. And that saving just keeps coming back, year after year after year. But the story isn't over. Marcus and his team were smart. They knew this couldn't just be a one-time thing, so they shifted from cleanup mode to prevention mode. First, they put in automated quality checks to stop bad code from even getting into the system. And second, they scheduled these health checks to run every quarter so they could catch any little problems before they ever had a chance to become big ones again. And that really brings us back to the beginning. This team found a $100,000 problem in half an hour. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What kind of hidden costs, what risks, what silent drains on productivity are just lurking in your own projects right now, just waiting for someone to look for them?